Here it is, finally, the best true ghost stories told by you, my subscribers. Let's jump in. Well, hello, my very spooky friends and wonderful weirdos. How are you doing? I'm recording this on a Friday evening. Scully, he's ready to hit the town. I mean, I know you can't tell. He kind of has that look, but he really is excited. And so I am going to tell these stories, and then I guess maybe we'll go out. Who knows? And now these are all stories that you have sent to me. And I'm sure when I get some more, I'll do another one. Sometimes I do them on the beginning of my other videos. And this one is gonna all be you. So let's get ready to get scared. Grab a blanket, a drink, whatever. Turn down the lights, because you know that's the best way to listen to ghost stories, right? This one comes from, I hope I get this right, Jesslina 9703. I worked at a LTC facility, not a really old place. I think it was built in 1979. I worked second and graveyard shifts, and I've had a few interesting experiences, especially following someone passing away. Last year, I was talking with a funeral director who had come to pick up a body, and I asked him if he had any strange things happen while working. I figure he was a good person to ask. Not likely that imaginative or easily spooked people would go into that field. Yeah, you're right. He said that while he had never had a body sit up and say hi, that he had seen, heard, and felt enough strange things happen on the job to know for sure that death is not the end. I find this very comforting and is a big part of the reason I didn't get spooked at work. The only resident that spooked me was one that had been in prison for unaliving someone, and he was creepier alive than dead. I get it. Like, look, I work in a jail, so I completely get it. There are some scary people there. Whew. Well, I'm glad that it doesn't bother you and you're not scared, because, you know, that is a very special job, and kudos for you for doing it. This next one is from, I think this is Clary B. 101. I used to work in a private hospital that was built in 1929. Back then, it was operated by a Catholic Order of Nursing Sisters. Yeah, that is I'll have to tell you about that sometime. I used to work in a facility that was an old Catholic hospital. When I was working there, they were renovating and building a new part of the hospital. One day, the construction workers all stopped working, and all of them walked off as they saw an apparition of a nun. They were absolutely terrified. Thankfully, I've never seen anything, but whenever I was there at night and walked through corridors, I would feel a presence behind me all the time. Now, I'm going to tell you, like I said, I used to work in a former Catholic hospital. The same. Now, I never saw a nun, but there were tons of employees that did see nuns just standing in the hallway. And I'm like, what is it with these nuns? Like, we had a few other ghosts, but yeah, I guess they're diligent. They want to keep doing their job. Wow. But you definitely can feel a presence when something is there. Okay, this one is by Shaniqua 147. I worked as a CNA for 2 years one night. I went back to work on an 11 to 7 shift. I reached the facility and got all the info on all my patients, and they told me one of my patients passed away like a day ago. So I didn't have to go in that room. So I did all my rounds and changing. After I was finished, I went and sat around the nurse's station and started watching my movie. All of a sudden, the call light for that specific room started going off. So I went to the room, thinking one of the other patients went in there. When I entered the room, there was nobody there. So I turned the lights off, and on my way heading out the room again, the call lights turned right back on. So I told the nurse, and the nurse was so shocked that she told me to go and turn it off again. I told her, heck no, you go turn that stuff off, because I ain't never going back in that room. So the call light stayed ringing the whole night. Hey, girl, I feel ya. I feel ya. Uh, like, look, when you work in a facility like that, and these kind of things happen. You do have things like call lights coming on in empty rooms where someone has passed. That is not unusual at all. And yeah, she can go turn it off herself. I don't blame you one bit. Have y'all in healthcare? I know you've had to have experiences, right? Let me know. Tell me in the comments if you have had an experience. I sure have. Plenty of them. Funky Monkey 10. I like this one. Not in the medical field, but I did security work. One place I worked at the building was built in the 30s. At night, the place was empty except for janitors. In the quiet, we could sometimes hear voices talking to one another. We'd sometimes see shadows where there wouldn't be any. And we've walked by someone's desk only to come back to the same way later and find things have moved. I would say it could definitely be creepy, but I didn't classify it as scary. Nothing sinister about it. It was just as if people were just going about their day. I wonder if they do that. We've heard a lot about that. I have a theory that we sometimes leave an imprint behind when we die. Sometimes it's something created out of extremely intense emotions, which is why people sometimes see or hear things near an old battlefield. That war is still being fought in some plane of existence. It's when it's someone who recently passed that I consider it to be an actual ghost, as it were. Yeah, I have the same theory, and I think a lot of people would actually agree with you, Funky Monkey, and say that there is such a thing as a residual imprint when it's the intense emotions in a place. Usually it's not happy ones. It could be. Some places just feel light and stuff, but most of the time it takes those intense emotions of someone passing away, a war, great sorrow, that type of thing. And then you do tend to see those kind of spirits that it looks like, they're replaying that over and over. That is a horrible thought. I hope it is just an imprint, and I hope it's not like souls actually having to live that over and over. That would be horrible. But whichever case, sometimes people do see them. It happens a lot. Thank you so much for sharing that story. But we're not done. The day my great grandfather passed away, my little brother, who had never met the man, saw him in the hallway one night while my brother was heading for the bathroom. We know it happened because my brother slept in my mom and stepdad's room for 3 months and refused to talk about it. Yeah, I don't blame him. Finally, after some time, he did speak about it, and my mom felt a bit shocked. Interestingly, my great grandpa smoked a pipe all his life, and sometimes we smell pipe tobacco in the house. We don't smoke, and I just figure it's grandpa saying hi. I don't have any other explanation. You know, there are a lot of ghost stories where people do smell their grandfather's pipe or their dad's pipe. Very distinctive smells that only came from that person. Sometimes in these stories, it's like a cologne or, some kind of body, deodorant or something that made that person smell very unique. And so that is not the first story I've heard about that kind of thing. So this one comes from CGH250. I remember a friend of mine who was working a night shift at our hospital, and one of her patients passed away just after midnight. Things got a little crazy afterwards when the woman's spirit was causing quite a stir in her room after dying. The charge nurse had previous experience with this situation and came to my friend's rescue. She explained that some folks don't accept that they have died and are desperately trying. Sorry, that's my dog, not a ghost. And are desperately trying to re enter their body in a panic. Oh no. The charge nurse was able to spend about 40 minutes in the patient's room to get it resolved. We could hear her audibly talking to the deceased patient, explaining it was time to leave in peace. Not all ghosts know that they're dead and they still think they're living, but I have honestly never seen that in the hospital where they didn't accept that they had passed and they're trying to get back in their body. I'm just saying. I don't know that I would be trying to come back, you know? I've honestly never seen that. I've seen people who have fought and fought to not pass away, but once they do, there doesn't seem to be an issue. So, yeah, this is really creepy. Can you imagine trying to get back in your body? No. Can't imagine that. Like trying to get back in your body. And then as a nurse, I don't know. I need to know these things. How do you explain to them that they need to go on? Um, and how do you resolve that? I'd love to know. If somebody knows, please tell me. What are the steps to get somebody to quit trying to come back in their body? Jeez. All right, Jeff K7734. I'm not a nurse, but back last December, I was kept in the hospital for my colonoscopy as I needed extra help. While out at the colonoscopy itself, I left an app on my phone to record. It's called GhostTube, and for the most part, it was just random phrases, but there are two incidences that stood out. Have y'all ever used a ghost app? I have. And I know what you're saying. It's just random phrases. The first one was when the nurse I was assigned to went into someone's room and told them she needed to give them a suppository. That's never good news. Let me just tell you. Never good news. Oh, guess what I've got for you, sir? Okay. As soon as she told the patient, I'm sorry. I've had to do that, so I know. It's like, or an enema. When you have to walk in and say, time for your enema, they're like, it's not the best part of being a patient or a nurse either. Now, as soon as she told the patient this, my app said, you're annoying. This nurse is one of the sweetest people on the ward, and I'm not sure if she gave the person their suppository or not. A short time later, well, I don't know. Would you you hear this voice coming out, this ghost app saying you're annoying? I don't know. Do you leave? Do you just keep going? I don't know. A short time later, dinner came, and this hospital has good patient food. Well, you're lucky. However, when someone got their meal and the person giving it to them was telling them what was on the tray, my app said, I don't like it. I've got to go back there for surgery in a couple of weeks and plan on leaving my program recording again while I'm in surgery. This hospital is one of the friendliest hospitals I've ever been in. This hospital sounds really good, especially when you've got good food and good nursing staff. That's amazing. I've never had anybody use a ghost app, and we all downloaded it for some ghost tour I was on. They said, please do this. And so I had it, and I know what you're saying. It comes up with random phrases, and it's supposed to, catch ghostly voices, but to tell you the truth, mine never caught anything that made sense to me. So this one saying you're annoying and I don't like it, that is hilarious. I think you have got a ghost that has a good sense of humor, really. I think they were just doing that to mess with you. And if I was a ghost hanging around a hospital, I can guarantee you that would be me. Ooh, let's play with the ghost app. I can so see me doing that. Okay, this comes from ViperChick78. I was in the hospital room when my mom passed. She was on life support, and I was just stepping back into her room when a mist cloud lifted from her bed and floated right between my husband and I, and then out of the room. She was disconnected from machines minutes later and was pronounced passed away. My husband didn't see it. Wow. That's really cool, though, because you got to witness that moment where we're assuming that what you saw was her spirit leave her body. Some people have taken pictures and caught like little mist like things coming out of people or in the room, but I hope that gave you some comfort because it would have me. If you don't see anything, you're like, they stuck there? I hope not. So, I mean, I'm sorry that your mom passed, but I'm glad that you got to see and witness that. I wish your husband had too, though. Thank you so much for sharing that story. Okay, seriously warped. I once worked for a man who was quite wealthy, and he decided to open a restaurant in Orlando one year. Very nice man who was down to earth individual who cared for the people he employed. He shared a story with me one day about a close friend of his family and a woman named Nancy who had passed away from cancer the previous year. About 6 months after her death, he received a call on his cell phone with the name Nancy. But instead of showing her photo, which was still programmed on his phone, it was a picture of her tombstone. What? It was a picture of her tombstone. Oh my gosh, with her name written on it. Showed up as the identifier of the person calling his cell phone. That is a long distance call. When he accepted the call, all he could hear was static. The number being used to call from was 333. It was indeed strange and unexplainable. Wow, I'll say. He stated to me that he never took a picture of her grave and he took it as a sign to never forget her or the family. So he said he continued to pray for them and for courage and strength long after her death. Wow. Wow. Geez. I don't know what I'd do if I got a phone call from somebody that was passed away. And I see why it's still on your phone because, like, you just don't think about taking stuff like that. But the fact that it came up with a picture of her tombstone and the 333, like, this ghost, first of all, she knows how to work technology. But that is just crazy. Wow, that is one of the craziest stories I've ever heard. And then getting the static on there with three. I don't know what 333 means. What do you think it means? But let me say this, seriously, Warped. I got a message from you and it asked me about it that you had a lot of stories and stuff, and it asked me about a PDF file and all this kind of stuff. And then I was trying to reply to the message and it popped away. So if you see this, please, yes, absolutely, I would love to hear your experiences. So yeah, if you didn't get an answer from me, it's just because it disappeared and I looked over and over and I couldn't find it. All right, I think this is the last one for this time. Okay, so keep sending your stories. This is from Anna Brahamson. Did I say that right? I'm sorry if I didn't. 4320. When I was a young married lady, my husband is a truck driver, and he used to get home around 1 or 2 in the morning. By then, I had been sleeping for a while. Anyway, he woke me up, and I couldn't go back to sleep. My kitty and me awake when this little girl walked into our room asking where her mommy was. She had a sailor dress and one of those white hats with a blue ribbon around it. She had blue eyes and pretty blonde hair. Scared the crap out of me and my kitty, who backed into the headboard, hair all fluffed up and back arched. Yeah, your cats know. Years later, my mother passed. We went to visit my aunt, and she had a picture of her little sister who drowned in a creek that had flooded fast where she was playing. She was 6 years old. That picture was the little girl I saw in the same dress and hat. Oh, wow. My mom always felt responsible for her half sister's drowning. Oh, it wasn't her fault though, and she had held on to that guilt. Oh wow, that is crazy. Yeah, I'm sorry that she, had guilt for that. But yeah, that is a very interesting story. And animals know stuff. And your cat, it doesn't surprise me. Like I feel like something is up when my cat Sachi wants to sleep on me, not next to me or whatever. And like there are some nights that she gets very clingy, even if it's very hot in the room. And I know she's hot laying on me, but some people say that cats have protective spirits and they can see and protect you from the woo woo. So I don't know if that's what she's doing, but yeah, I certainly believe all of that. Thank y'all again so much for your stories. Keep sending them in. I do have a Facebook page, Avalon Cottage, and you can email me at avaloncottage@gmail.com, or you can just put them in the comments. It is harder for me to see, especially when you're doing videos that are back even a year ago. I don't always see those comments. So try to comment on one of the latest ones, and that way I will be sure not that it doesn't get lost in the pile. All right. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. It's time for us to hit the town, so we will see you later, and we'll see what kind of response that Scully gets out at night. It's not even October, but yet here he is in the mood. All right. But whatever you do, remember to always just stay spooky, okay? Bye bye.